The following provides information on how vision works. Specifically, we will be discussing the process of transforming light signals into usable information. We can define vision as the act or power of seeing. This happens when light enters the eye and is transformed to information in the brain. So, vision is about getting information to your visual cortex. To do that, you first have to perceive the object. Initially, light bounces off in all directions. The lens in your eye changes shape to focus the light. At this point, the light is still in the form of energy. The retina transforms light energy into signals, which just means that the rods and cones fire to produce an electrical impulse on the nerve fiber, just like any other neuron. There are some 120 million rods in the eye. They adapt to the dark and are the motion sensors. They also dominate your peripheral vision. The cones number about 6 to 7 million and are responsible for color and high-resolution vision. Once the light becomes signals, it can be transferred to the visual cortex. The optic nerve begins to carry the signals to the brain. The optic nerve ends at the LGN, which resides in the thalamus and relays the information to the visual cortex. The visual cortex is complex and responsible for processing that visual information. Vision occurs when light from objects becomes information. So, to visually perceive something, the eye first has to transform the light to signals. Then neurons have to transfer the signals to the visual cortex. How does this happen? It happens through a specific series of steps. First, light has to bounce off of an object. If you are in the full dark, a perfectly working eye and brain will not perceive any light to transform into signals. Light is a critical factor. But light itself does not carry information. The light needs to be converted to signals by photoreceptors. There are two types of photoreceptors at work, the rods and cones. Together, they are capable of visual phototransduction, which means that when the rods and cones fire signals, they create an electrical impulse that transforms the color, movement, and shade of light into signals. For an image to be recognized, many photoreceptor cells are activated. Once the light is converted to signals, those signals travel along the optic nerve to the LGN. The LGN is what relays the signals to the brain. It is the main connection from the optic nerve to the visual cortex. The LGN is where the optic nerve ends. The LGN also provides a signal that helps the images from both eyes converge into a single image. This is what allows us to see a single object, even though we initially perceive it through two separate eyes. The LGN also controls the focus of the eye, based on the distance to the object. Finally, the information reaches the visual cortex. For vision to work properly, both the eye and the brain must be functioning. Specifically, if the visual cortex does not work, patients are functionally blind. Altogether, to transform light into information, there are 4 steps. Number 1, light bounces off the object. Number 2, neurons fire signals. These neurons, or photoreceptors, are called cones and rods. The rods detect movement and adjust in the dark. The cones detect fine details and are responsible for focal vision. Number 3, the signals are relayed to the brain. Number 4, the signals are interpreted by the visual cortex, which resides in the occipital lobe at the back of the brain. The visual cortex is responsible for processing and interpreting visual information.